As far as the investigation is concerned, did you guys give your phones over to investigators? All right, we have Morgan, Jax, and Warren here. Now that I got you guys all here, what I want to do, and I want the audience to be able to have an opportunity to hear some of the things that have been put out there cleared up. You guys know better than anybody else what happened. I only had, from the perspective of Warren last time, and now that you guys are here, I want to get the full perspective so that people can know what happened and they can judge for themselves. And the first thing I want to start with is your relationship with Nolan. What was y'all's relationship like? I'm sure, jump in however you feel, but there has been talks on social media that you guys are fake friends of Nolan. You weren't really his friend. Can you explain that to me and the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I don't care what anyone says about my relationship with someone else. I know my relationship with Nolan. Nolan knew his relationship with me. I know who my best friend is, and he knew that too. I mean, he knew our relationship. But so basically, no one can tell me how I feel about someone or how someone felt about me, especially someone who's gone now. I mean, Nolan knew the relationship we had, but describing Nolan that man was the funniest dude ever.
Always had a smile on his face.
Always.
I mean, if you needed to laugh, I think Nolan would be the only person, one of the only people I would call.
Man, I ain't ever seen him mad, dude.
He was the peacemaker of our
was.
friend group. I mean, anytime anybody had beef over somebody, over a girl or whatever, he would go over there and start talking to him. He's like, man, I think this guy's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, this guy's
I don't think
cool.
I think we should become friends with this guy. Yeah. And lo and behold, we would somehow become friends with the dude, even though he's getting with one of our other buddies' exes or whatever. But yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, Nolan's great. I'm serious, most genuine guy ever.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, lights up a room.
Notice who's talking now. Up to this point, everything you've heard about Nolan Wells has come from his family, from lawyers, from a podium. This is the first time you're hearing from the three people who were actually with him on Horn Island, and they're not answering questions from a friendly reporter. They're answering an accusation that they weren't really his friends at all. Here's the tension worth sitting with before you decide what you think of them. People defending themselves against suspicion always sound sincere. Guilty people learn to sound sincere. Innocent people sound sincere because they are. From the outside, in the first 60 seconds, those two things are indistinguishable. So don't grade this on how convincing it feels. Grade it on what's actually checkable. And there's already something checkable buried in the first few minutes. Nolan's parents reportedly said they didn't know these boys. The boys are answering that specific, verifiable claim. Not a vague sense of friendship, but a factual one. Either Nolan stayed at their houses regularly or he didn't. Either their families overlapped or they didn't. That's not a feeling. That's the kind of claim other people, teachers, neighbors, other parents, could actually confirm or deny, whether or not this interview happens to be truthful. Keep that distinction running under everything you hear from here forward. Which parts of what these three say are pure character testimony, inherently unfalsifiable, the same thing anyone would say about a friend who died, and which parts are specific enough to be checked against someone else's memory. The specific claims are worth more. Watch for them, because what's coming next isn't more character talk, it's the actual timeline. The boat, the phone, the water. And that's where this stops being about who liked Nolan and starts being about what these three can actually account for, minute by minute, on the day he disappeared.
When he walks in it, but no, I'm not
No
joking.
jokes.
It's like an understatement.
No joke.
I mean, he's great, dude. Most genuine guy I've ever met in my life. And I know when people I know I've seen when people pass a lot, everybody says good things, obviously. And, this isn't just me being respectful to know him. Dude, that was one of the best guys I've ever met. Man.
I've only ever seen him mad once. Literally once. That's it. One time. And it was over something stupid. Yeah. But that was the only time I've ever seen him mad. Other than that, he was always smiling or trying to figure out what we're doing that night or whatever. And then again, our relationship really started around, would you say, freshman year, high school. Like,
Well, I was like, a little closer with him before y'all because, like, obviously, like I told Brandon last time, like 8th grade COVID year is when Nolan and I like really started hanging out, and then we all started hanging out going into high school. But man, that dude's funny. Life of the party. Like, had so much fun. Like, we had so much fun together. Like, even going up to like Starkville where Morgan goes to school, and like just every
freshman
Oxford,
Destin.
Like, his friend. Yeah, dude, it's fun. He's
awesome.
Great.
And so people, well, there was a conversation that we had, Warren, last time about you not going or ever being at his house, and people took that as if you weren't his friend. Can you guys describe what engagement did you have with Nolan at his house, with his parents, him with your parents? Like, how did all that circulate?
Right, well, like Jack said, like, he used to pick up Nolan every day. I used to pick up Nolan every day. My buddy Wyatt used to pick up Nolan. Like, literally would pick. We didn't make Nolan drive anywhere.
That's how much we loved him, bro.
Like,
we just always wanted him to be
like,
there.
that's how much, like, everybody knows this too. Like, Nolan didn't drive. Like, especially, at least in our friend group, because Nolan, we always pick Nolan up, regardless of where it was. Like, literally on July 3rd, Nolan rode with me and, like, rode with me to Wyatt's because we had to get parts for a boat. But anyway, just for, you know, it's crazy that, like, I think it's kind of sad that, like, people, I have some friends of mine that I'm very, very close with, and I just don't know their parents. You know, we're grown men. You don't have to know someone's parents to be close with them. And for if someone's, like, for, you know, them to come out and be like, oh, well, y'all aren't friends with somebody. Well, how are you going to tell me, like, my relationship with somebody else, you know? It's crazy. Like, they've said this all about us, like, oh, we're fake friends. Well, that's really...
Here's one of those checkable details, and it's more useful than it sounds. Someone picked Nolan up every day, not once, every day by multiple different people for years. That's not a claim you can fake casually. It's the kind of detail that either matches what a dozen other people remember or it doesn't. If Nolan genuinely didn't drive and genuinely got shuttled around by this exact friend group for years, that leaves a trail. Parents who saw it, other friends who complained about being the one always stuck driving, teachers who saw the same cars in the pickup line. Testable, file it there. Compare that to the emotional language sitting right next to it. That's how much we loved him. That part isn't checkable at all. It's exactly what you'd say whether it was true or not. The skill this whole case demands of you as a viewer is holding both of those sentence types in your head at once without collapsing them into the same category. One is evidence-shaped, one just sounds like it. Now here's the detail that's actually doing real work here, almost in passing. July 3rd, Nolan rode along to pick up boat parts. That's a specific, dated, locatable claim, a version of "Where was Nolan the day before he disappeared?" that exists independently of anyone's opinion about these three. If that's true, it's checkable against a receipt, a store, a memory that isn't theirs. So here's a question worth carrying forward as this interview keeps going. How many of these details are going to stay this specific? Vague loyalty is cheap. Dated, locatable, third-party checkable claims are not. And the ratio between the two across this whole account is basically the only tool you have for judging whether what you're hearing is memory or performance.
Really horrible to say, because if you go look on every social media post on Nolan's Instagram or Facebook or anything else, the only people in it are us and his football guys. Like that's just so real. Every time Nolan's in Starkville, he's with us. Every time Nolan's anywhere, not even just Starkville, but anywhere.
Oh yeah, we went on countless vacations and
prom, homecoming, everything. Nolan's with us because we were his friends. It's not that hard to understand. I mean, I don't have to prove this to anybody, but that's the truth. I don't have to prove my friendship, and these guys feel the same way. We don't have to prove our friendship with Nolan, but I know it's right.
Yeah. So was Nolan around your family then?
Oh yeah, Nolan was always around our houses. I mean, I can even say this: Nolan and Wyatt's dad had a secret friendship that we weren't even in.
Yeah, they were like best friends.
We would go over to Wyatt's house, and Nolan, we would all be in the backyard, whatever, doing something, And Nolan would be inside on the couch with Wyatt's dad, and they would just be cutting it up all night.
Yeah, watching
night.
movies together. Like
Scarface
tight.
was their favorite movie.
Yeah.
They'd watch Scarface.
All the time.
All
But
the
it really
time.
shows you like the effect like all this has had on everybody, not including just our friend group, but like our friends' parents and my parents. Like our friends were really and families were really close with Nolan, and I mean this has been a horrible tragedy, not just for us but for our families and friends too. My mom knew Nolan because she used to drive us from Waffle House to school once a week. My stepdad knew Nolan because he used to drive us. My dad, everybody, like.
And he would always come to the house too all the time.
And not just that, but like I'm talking about like from a young age, like from 8th grade. But Nolan would always be at our house to stay at our houses, and for his parents to come out and say, "Oh, well, we don't know these boys." Well, then does that mean you don't know where your kid's staying at night? Because he was staying at our houses. So
Take me to that day on the 4th. Based on what I know from the interview we had and some of the things that Nolan had spent the night and then at your house, and then you guys got up, you went out. Was this the first time you guys went to Horn Island, or you guys used to do this every year? Or?
So we've probably been to Horn Island this year alone 3 times with Nolan. And then the previous year, we went to Horn Island. Nolan was with us out there then. And every time we go out to Horn Island, usually Nolan's with us. And every single year for the 4th of July when we go out there, Nolan's with us. I mean, this is a...
Here's the direct contradiction, finally spelled out instead of implied. The parents reportedly said they didn't know these boys. The boys say Nolan and Wyatt's father had their own private ritual, sitting up late watching Scarface together, no one else invited. That's not "we were vaguely close." That's a specific textured memory of a relationship between a teenager and someone else's father, the kind of detail that's either true or it's an unusually specific lie. Both things can't be fully true at once, and that gap matters more than almost anything else you've heard in this documentary so far. Somebody's memory of "did we know these boys" is wrong or incomplete or means something different than it sounds like it means. Families under this kind of pressure sometimes speak in the language of legal caution rather than literal fact. "We don't know these boys" might mean we've never verified who these boys are through official channels, not we've never met them. That's worth holding open as a real possibility rather than assuming either side is lying outright. But notice what these 3 are doing here that's smart. Whether or not it's calculated, they're not just asserting closeness in the abstract. They're naming specific people, mothers who drove carpool, a stepfather who knew the routine, a father who watched movies with him. Every name is a potential witness outside this room. That's a different kind of claim than "we loved him," and it's the kind that either survives contact with other people's memories or collapses under it. So here's what to watch for as the timeline moves toward July 4th itself. Does that same specificity hold up once the story gets to the parts that actually matter? The boat, the water, the last hours? Or does it get vaguer exactly when precision would matter most? That shift, if it happens, is more revealing than anything said so far.
tradition. I mean, everybody waits all year for Horn Island, 4th of July. Like, that is the place to be. That is a party all day, and it is literally right up all of our alleys. Like, that's what we want to do all day. Like, that's the funnest day of the year. And yeah.
I mean, Nolan was with us 2 weeks prior to the 4th of July at Horn Island. Yeah. With no one out there. If we had any intention to hurt Nolan at the island, why would we do it on the 4th of July with thousands of people out there? I mean, it's pretty clear. We literally all went out there for my buddy's birthday, and Nolan was with a whole group of people like we were with on the 4th. So, I mean, that's.
Yeah, and it was on like a Wednesday.
It's not like this
Nobody
is.
was out
It's
there,
not like
yeah.
this is just like a random like occasion. No,
We
we
got
do
there
this all the time.
yeah.
And not even just Horn Island, but no one's on the boat with us all the time. We all go on the boat. We all do things together like this. So,
I want to get to some pointed questions about the phone situation, because I think last time, Warren, when you and I talked or spoke, you weren't at the house when the phone was recovered. So I want to figure this out. Explain to me, because a lot of people are still online saying that they find it to be incredibly suspicious that Nolan left his phone. Can you explain, did Nolan ask you for his phone back when you guys were leaving? Was it not a part of the conversation? Was Nolan the only person that left his phone on the boat? Can you guys walk me through that idea?
So I can go ahead first and say nobody has their phone in the water. Even when you jump in a pool, do you have your phone? Like, no, you don't. You're not going to bring your electronic in the water. So what everybody does is they stick their phones on the dash of the boat and they forget about it because you don't have good service. You can't even send a picture through from Horn Island to like somebody else. And so they put it on the phone. And even as teenagers, we don't really get on them. We go out there and we conversate and we see a bunch of people that we usually don't see on a day-to-day basis, that we graduated high school with, guys that graduated before us. You know, it's a big meeting, like seeing all your friends that you haven't seen in a while. And so whenever we were coming back in, he didn't even think about grabbing his phone. He never asked about his phone, along with 5 other people that also left their phones on the boat, and we had to wait at the boat launch for them to come and pick them up, including Javon. I mean, Javon left his phone on our boat.
Yeah, Javon is one of the guys in the friend group.
There's an argument buried in here worth pulling out and looking at directly, because it's the strongest circumstantial point these 3 have made so far. If you intended to hurt someone on that island, would you really do it on the 4th of July, with thousands of people around, in broad daylight, as part of an annual tradition your entire friend group does every single year? It's not proof of innocence. Bad things happen in crowded, ordinary places constantly. But it is a real argument about opportunity and premeditation, and it's a different category of claim than "he was a good friend." Weigh it as what it is: circumstantial reasoning, not alibi, not evidence. Then the story turns to the detail that's fueled more online theorizing than almost anything else in this case: the phone. And here's where you need to actually pay attention, because the explanation being offered is mundane on purpose. Dead zones, no signal, nobody bringing electronics into the water, phones piled on a dashboard and forgotten. Ordinary boating behavior, not a cover story. At least 5 other people, they say, left their phones on that same boat that day. That's a specific, checkable number. If it's true, Nolan wasn't singled out. If it's false, that's exactly the kind of detail an investigation could actually disprove. Here's the honest tension you should hold on to going into what's next. An ordinary explanation for a suspicious-looking detail is usually just an ordinary explanation, but usually isn't always. And the whole reason this detail went viral in the first place is that it's genuinely hard to verify from the outside. You can't fact-check a dashboard from your couch. What's coming next is the actual moment Nolan chose to stay behind. The conversation, the girl, the exact words used. That's the last data point anyone has of him making a decision. Listen closely to how confident these 3 sound about something none of them could have known was about to matter this much.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Javon's a friend of mine, friend of ours. Like, not as tight as Nolan. Javon's in the class under me in school, and he's a friend of mine. But just like a lot of our other friends, Javon's our friend. He left the phone on the boat because we're trustworthy people. We're not going to steal something. We're not going to delete pictures off of someone's phone. We're not going to delete text messages. We're not going to get on anyone's phone because we have no reason to. But Javon left his phone. And we gave Javon his phone back along with everybody else who left their phone on the boat. So
yeah, we'll get to that because I think I have the timeline in my mind. So you guys, the boat is taking in water. You had already left, Morgan, right? You had already left on a boat. So there's 3 boats. You had already left about 5 minutes before this situation happened. The last 2 boats was BART's boat and Wyatt's boat, and those are the 2 boats that left out because BART was kind of towing Wyatt's boat out. So you guys are on the boat. What was the conversation with Nolan? Because Nolan obviously had come in on Wyatt's boat. You guys are all getting ready to leave. So what was the communication like with Nolan?
So actually Wyatt was saying, told Nolan, because Nolan's with this girl at this point. They're together. Wyatt looked at Nolan, he was like, dude, come on, boat's taking on water, we gotta go, like right now. And Nolan didn't want to go, he said he wanted to stay with the girl, and Wyatt started yelling at me. He's like, Nolan, get on the boat now. And Nolan was like, no. And then finally, Wyatt's like, Nolan, get on the effing boat right now. We are leaving right now. And Nolan said he had another ride back, and we had no more time to waste. We got to get the boat out of there before it goes under.
And it was that, and when Nolan said that, like, was there an issue that you believe that Nolan would be able to get back, or were you concerned? Like,
so what I can say is, I've been out countless times on one boat to Horn Island and came back on another. I've done it before where I went out on one boat and my friends left, and I just know so many people out there. I didn't even think about, do I have a ride already set up? I just know so many people out there that I'm like, okay, there's 100% sure I can find a ride back, and which I have before, you know? And it's one of those things where it's at Horn Island, you don't even have to know somebody to ask for a ride back in. They're gonna bring you in. You know, it's not like, oh, are they gonna bring me in?
Here's the last clean data point anyone has. Nolan on a sinking boat, being told to get on, refusing, saying he had another ride. That's the hinge this entire case turns on. Not because it proves anything by itself, but because it's the last moment where multiple witnesses agree on what Nolan actually said and did, in his own words, by choice. Everything after this point is reconstruction. This part, if it happened the way it's described, is memory. Notice the specific texture of it too. Not he decided to stay, but an escalating exchange. Wyatt asking, Nolan declining, Wyatt yelling, Nolan still declining, calmly enough to explain why. A girl, another ride. That's not the shape of a cover story assembled after the fact. Cover stories tend to be clean. This is messy, mid-argument, three different people half remembering who said what, which is either exactly what real memory sounds like or exactly what a well-rehearsed story sounds like when it's rehearsed well. You genuinely cannot tell from the outside, and it's worth being honest with yourself about that limit. Here's what should actually reassure or concern you, depending on which way this goes. Warren's explanation for not worrying, that Horn Island runs on an informal network of rides, that strangers bring stranded people home as a matter of course, is either a real verifiable feature of how that island works on a holiday weekend, or it's a convenient excuse for not checking on a friend. Ask yourself honestly, does that sound like a culture you'd recognize if you asked 10 other people who've spent time out there? If yes, the lack of alarm makes sense. If no, it's the first moment in this account that starts to strain credibility. That's the real fork in this whole story, and it's coming up next. Was staying behind, alone, on a barrier island actually as unremarkable as they're describing, or is that the first place their account is working harder than it should? Two things are sitting side by side right now that don't fully add up. A phone call to CTO going through, and a claim that reception was too bad to send a text. Does that gap bother you, or does spotty coastal signal explain it for you? Say which one in the comments. And if you've ever lost signal exactly like this on the water yourself, say that too.
Or they not, should I ask? No, if you ask anybody out there, 100%, they'll bring you back.
Southern
in.
hospitality.
Yeah,
You're in South Mississippi.
I mean, we had somebody.
The boating community is so like tight knit. Like, it doesn't matter like who you are. If someone sees you struggling on the island, no matter the case, they will come and help you. They will do anything in their power to help you and bring you back to the mainland.
I put another example out there. We know another kid who was pretty intoxicated out there, and he couldn't find his boat. And he asked somebody random that he didn't even know if he could catch a ride back with them. And they were like, yeah, got him on the boat, called his parents, told them the situation was going on, and then took him back on inshore.
And that happened this time, or is
4th of July.
This
4th of July.
This current 4th.
So you guys you leave. Nolan is there. I'm based on what you're telling me, I'm perceiving that you guys are accepting that Nolan's going to get a ride back somewhere else. Y'all taking on water. Explain to the audience, what does this sinking boat thing like? Because I think that people are in good faith, the ones who are acting in good faith, are genuinely curious of like, are you sinking? Do you think you're gonna sink? Because you hear Wyatt on the phone and he's like, we're sinking, we're going down. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's you never went down. So can you explain what he was saying about going down? Was
Yeah.
there a little bit of water? Was he just panicking more than normal, or like what was that? And I want you to explain too, like what happened to the boat? How did you recover the boat? And how did you get back to the mainland?
So I'm gonna go ahead and first off explain a boat. So a bilge pump is in the bilge. The bilge is underneath the deck where you stand in the very bottom of the boat. And there's a space in there where you have all your electronics, your batteries, everything that controls everything throughout the whole boat. So the first thing that fills up on a boat when it starts to sink is the bilge. And it goes in the bilge and it starts filling up. Well, then the bilge pump kicks on, senses the water automatically, and starts pumping it out. In this situation, the bilge pump had a malfunction, it didn't kick on, and it got all the way to the very top of the bilge, which is the floor level. And then we started to see the boat actually sag down in the water, and we're like, okay, what's going on? So there's a cap in the back of the boat that you can unscrew and look inside the bilge. When we unscrewed it, there's so much water in the boat, it started overflowing.
Here's a claim that's actually easy to check and worth checking because it's doing a lot of work in this explanation. That Horn Island runs on informal trust. That strangers routinely ferry stranded people back to the mainland without a second thought. If that's genuinely how that boating community operates on a holiday weekend, the decision to leave Nolan behind starts to look a lot less alarming. Normal behavior in a specific culture, not negligence. If it's an exaggeration, it starts to look like convenient reasoning after the fact. This isn't something you have to take on faith. Anyone who boats that stretch of coast either recognizes this description or they don't, and that's exactly the kind of detail outside sources could confirm. Then the story moves into the part with an actual mechanical timeline behind it. A bilge pump, a boat taking on water, a scramble to get everyone off the island before it goes under. This section matters for a different reason than the parts before it. It's technical enough that it's hard to fabricate convincingly on the spot. Bilge pumps, boat mechanics, how a hull fills and drains. These are specific systems with specific failure patterns. If someone doesn't actually know boats, this kind of explanation gets vague fast, or gets details wrong that another boater would catch immediately. So here's what to listen for as the mechanical account continues. Does the level of detail stay this granular, or does it get conveniently hazy right at the moments that matter most? Like, say, exactly how much time passed, or exactly who was where when the boat actually left. Precision under pressure is either a sign of a clear memory or a sign of a well-rehearsed story. The next few minutes are where that distinction actually starts to show.
Onto the deck. And so at this point, we're like, okay, this boat's going down. It's going down quick. We don't know where the water's coming in from. We don't know what's going on, and we just go into full-on like panic mode. Get this thing out of here now. So we hook up the boats.
No, call Cito.
Okay.
Let's get to that part. Because you called Cito first?
No,
or you had the boats hooked up first?
We had the boats hooked up first.
Yeah. Okay.
So we hook up the boats and we start towing them out. And he's on the phone with Cito. Because, hold on, let me go back a second. The electronics completely glitched out. Nothing is working on the boat. There's so much water in there, nothing is working.
The batteries are also
The batteries are completely underwater. Like they're everything's fried basically. So we have it connected, kind of towing them out, and he's on the phone with Cito, and he's trying to get them on the phone. And as he stated in the moment, he's like, Cito's just asking all these dumb questions. I can't like figure out what's going on. And so finally hangs up, and after the trim to the motor started to work again. So they manually trim it down by the buttons on the motor, trimmed it down, and some electronics started to come back on, and they got the boat to crank over, and they're like, all right, untie us, because if you can get a boat on plane, the suction of the water going underneath it will actually pull all the water out of the bilge if you have the plug out. So like say you have the plug out and it's sitting, the boat will sink. If you have the plug out and you're running, all the water will rush out the back of the boat.
When you say on plane, you mean like it has to be going fast enough to be up on top of the water?
Yep.
Or
so
like
on
that?
plane is you're up, you're running, you're out of the water basically.
your bows on plane.
Yeah, so you're up out of the water
Yes.
running. So
So where are you guys at when this happens? As far as from Horn Island to the mainland, where are you guys at in between there?
So we're probably a mile and a half off of Horn, I'd say, a mile off
Well,
Horn.
from the start where the CETO call was, we were probably about a quarter mile
Yeah.
off the island. Like you could see, it's visible in the picture that you posted that Wyatt is on the CETO call, and it's that video of the boat panning, of the video of the boat getting panned, and you'd see everybody in the boat. If you look in the background, the island's right there. So I mean, going back to like what you said earlier, if we killed somebody or hurt somebody, the whole island is literally not even a quarter of a mile away to sea, with hundreds of boats lined up on the island.
Notice what just happened to the story's pacing. Up until now, this has been a conversation. This section is a procedure. Hook up the boats, call CETO, get the motor running, watch for the boat to plane. That shift in texture matters. Genuine chaos rarely narrates itself this cleanly in real time, which means either this account has been told enough times that the sequence has settled into a fixed shape, or the sequence was actually clean enough in the moment to remember this precisely. Both are plausible. Only one of them should make you more confident in the account, and it's not obvious from the outside which one you're getting. Here's the detail that actually matters for the geography of this whole case, so hold on to it. A quarter mile off Horn Island when the CETO call happened. Not out of sight. Not hours away. Close enough, they say, to see the island in the background of the video that went viral. That's a specific falsifiable claim about distance and visibility, the kind of thing that could theoretically be checked against the footage itself, frame by frame, rather than taken on anyone's word. And that's worth sitting with for a second. If the island really is visible in that clip, it undercuts one specific version of the suspicious narrative, the idea that this boat fled far from the scene while something happened. Proximity doesn't prove innocence, but it does narrow what kind of story is even physically possible, which is more than most of what's been said so far in this account has managed to do. So keep the frame in mind as the account keeps moving toward the dock. Distance, visibility, timing. Those are the three things in this entire story that don't depend on anyone's memory being honest. They depend on physics, and physics doesn't change depending on who's telling it.
So that's really all I had to say about that.
Yeah. So we
were about a quarter mile out.
So we were about a quarter mile out, whatever. So they pull the plug out the back of the boat. They have the motor running and everything like that, and they go to take off. So the boat's having trouble trying to get up, and it's slowly coming up because the weight of the water. Finally, it planes off, and the water gets sucked out the back, and they're full speed running. And then after that, I didn't see them anymore. I think you were on the boat. You start from there.
Yeah. So after we planed off, Wyatt kept the boat pinned the whole way in. We ran into the mouth of Fort Bayou, where we came from originally, and we turned into Fort Bayou, went in the channel, ran probably 500, 600 yards into Fort Bayou. Wyatt had jumped out of the boat, put the plug back in the boat so access water. So water didn't keep pushing and filling the boat up. So then we turned around, and Wyatt brought the boat to the dock, and that's when I had gotten out and got back in the car. And I didn't even drive. A buddy of mine drove me, and we went back to Jax's house.
Jax's house. Okay, so I just want to make this very clear and abundantly clear for the audience. Are you saying that the video that I posted, which is like a 3-second loop, now I have a lot more of the video, but
Right.
to not expose people that have nothing to do with this,
Right.
I only posted the smaller part, the 3-second part. Are you saying during that time, a portion of that, Wyatt was on the phone with CETO, so a portion of that is the CETO call, and that Nolan is not on that boat?
Correct.
And that video that's out there is a representation of who was on the boat during that CETO call.
Correct.
So I want to jump back to something real quick, because I was on the island and the reception was bad. I left my phone on the boat when I got out and went in the water. But people are saying online that how can you make a CTO call if the reception is so bad on the island? Because before you said the reception wasn't really good enough to even send a picture message to somebody else. So how is this call being made if the reception is not as good?
I mean, if you listen to the call back, I mean, there's areas in the call.
Here's something worth naming plainly. The viral clip everyone's seen is 3 seconds long, cut from something longer, by the creator's own admission. That alone should reset how much weight you put on it. 3 seconds tells you almost nothing about the 30 minutes around it, and the person who posted it is telling you, on camera, that he trimmed it deliberately. That's not necessarily sinister. It could just as easily be responsible editing, protecting people who aren't part of this story, but it's a fact worth holding on to every time that clip gets replayed online, as if it's the whole picture. It isn't. It was never meant to be. Then comes the question that's actually been sitting under this entire boat and phone story since the beginning. Finally asked directly, if the reception out there is bad enough that you can't send a picture message, how did a phone call to CTO ever go through? That's a real logical tension, not a gotcha. Either the reception claim is overstated, or emergency calls behave differently than casual texts, or the call happened at the one moment reception briefly existed. All three are plausible, none of them are confirmed yet. Watch closely for how that gets answered, because it's the first moment in this account where the story has to explain an apparent contradiction rather than just add more detail to something uncontested. Up to now, everything's been additive. More context, more texture, more names. This is different. This is the account being tested against itself in real time, and how carefully that tension gets resolved rather than brushed past is worth paying more attention to than almost anything said so far.
Where it's splotchy, it's not direct, like it's not like you're sitting from me to you talking to the person on the phone. I mean, you're obviously out on the water. I mean, you can hear it in the CTO call.
And so when it comes to the reception, because I didn't look at my phone one time on the way out to Horn Island. I mean, it was a beautiful ride.
Of course, because you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking. I'm looking at how beautiful this water is. We were having fun on the boat. We were playing music, some of Nolan's favorite songs.
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking about my phone. So I wasn't checking reception. Now, is the reception recover at some point between Horn and the mainland? Or is it terrible reception while you're over the water until you get to the mainland?
I mean,
As soon as you get off the island coming in shore,
yeah,
you
but there's
start
really
picking up
like
reception
no
again.
definite way to tell where the reception comes in, because I mean it's all satellite. I mean,
Yeah.
it's different I've gotten service 80 miles offshore, like off of a satellite coming to a oil rig. Yeah, and I connected to it from the rig. But like,
It just depends.
I could go to Horn Island and not have any service. I could go there and have service. I mean, I think
really
it's
hit or
truly
miss.
different, like every time.
So is it fair to say the service on Horn Island is super spotty?
Yes. Yeah.
And it was just almost by chance, in part, that the call was successful to call CTO. Okay.
Partly, yeah.
And I want to get to that picture, because I think a lot of people are confused about the picture. You guys cleared this up for me last time I came, but I want the world to kind of hear this, because I don't think I addressed it last time me and you, Warren, was on the interview. People are saying, and this is how the picture went viral, that the people pictured in the photo were the ones that went on a boat with Nolan and came back. Can you explain that? Because I don't think everybody that was in that picture even went to Horn Island on the same boat as Nolan.
So I can say whenever we all got out there,
Hold on, before you get there, because I think this will address another issue that people have of saying, well, why are they taking pictures if the reception is bad? Can you point out where this picture took place? What is going on with this infamous picture now?
Yep. So whenever we got there, like I said, I wasn't even on the same boat as Nolan. We pull our boat in. Nolan, their boat pulls in or whatever. I get out in the water.
Here's the answer to that reception contradiction, and it's more technically plausible than it might sound at first. Coastal cell service over open water is notoriously patchy and inconsistent, sometimes satellite dependent, sometimes strong a mile offshore and dead 100 yards from the same spot. That's a real well-documented phenomenon, not something invented for this story. It doesn't prove the CTO call happened exactly the way it's described, but it does mean no service for texts but one call got through isn't automatically a contradiction. Spotty coverage behaves exactly that unevenly in real life. Notice what's happening structurally in this account right now, though. Every specific checkable claim keeps resolving into, it depends, it's random, you never really know. That's not necessarily evasive, it's genuinely how marine cell coverage works. But it's also, conveniently, impossible to fully verify after the fact. Keep a running tally as you watch the rest of this. How many of the load-bearing details in this account turn out to hinge on things that are true, but also unfalsifiable? That ratio tells you something important about how confidently you should hold any conclusion here, in either direction. What's coming next is the one piece of this story that isn't just words, an actual photograph, the one that went viral, the one people built entire theories around. Unlike everything before it, a photo has real, checkable details. Where it was taken, what device took it, who's actually standing in it. That's the first piece of physical evidence in this entire account. Pay closer attention to this part than almost anything that's come before it.
I walk over to Nolan's boat and I'm talking to Nolan for a little bit, whatever. And I put my phone up on the dash, Nolan puts his up there. As Nolan's putting his phone on the dash, he sees an actual little camera that one of the girls that came on the boat brought. And his first words was, he picks up the camera and he goes, "We gotta take a picture." Just like that. And in my mind, I'm like, heck yeah, like let's take this picture. So that's where you got me and Nolan and the one picture. And then as we're taking that picture, Morgan and another buddy of ours come up and they're like, all right, like let's take a picture all together of us on the front of the boat. We're like, all right, yeah, let's do that. So we got on the front of the boat and that's where that picture is taken.
So that was it taken from a phone or
No,
Like an actual
like a
little camera.
Camera,
Okay.
like
And
the
was it
lens
taken?
comes
Was it
out.
taken from where you docked at, or was it taken out there at Horn Island?
It was
At
taken at
Horn
Horn
Island.
Island.
Okay. So, but wasn't on the phone.
No.
No.
Hey, I want to clear this up too, because I'm not aware of this. You guys may obviously have more information. Were people uploading? I know we talked about the service issue, but were people uploading onto social media?
I mean, you could.
Not
You just
really,
think
though.
You could be.
Realistically, you could.
You could if you want to
you
sit.
could.
If you're motivated enough to do it, yeah. Like I made a phone call to my mom, and I had to call her like 8 times before she picked up because either her service was bad, 'cause she was on the back side of the aisle on the south side, or my service was bad, and it was just hard to get through. But like if I went and posted a video on Snapchat, like honestly, I don't think it would like either post or send to somebody. I think, I sent my buddy where we were at, a buddy of mine. I was like, hey, come meet us. And I sent him a video and he was like, dude, I couldn't get a hold of you all day. And like that explains the point. Like I sent him a video where we were at and it never sent until I got inshore because
So
I had no service.
Would it shock you? Because Christine Wells, Nolan's mother, is online. She was very shocked that she said Nolan didn't have any Snapchats or something. I'm assuming that whole day. Is that shocking to you if he did or did not have photos or videos or stuff uploaded to social?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Because
I mean,
like we said, we've been out there many times before, and nobody's on their phone out there. First off, and then second off, if you want to take Snapchats and stuff like that, you can, but you're just really gonna have to save them to your camera roll and upload them back whenever you get inshore, because when you go to send it, it's just gonna have an error.
And most guys, when they're out on the island all day, they're really not thinking about posting something on their Snapchat story.
So the photo wasn't from a phone at all. A physical camera brought by someone else on the dock. That single detail quietly answers 2 separate suspicions at once: how a picture got taken despite bad reception, and why it doesn't prove anything about who arrived with whom on which boat. A photo taken on a shared dock with people drifting in and out of frame from multiple boats isn't a record of who traveled together. It's just a record of who happened to be standing nearby when someone said, "Let's take a picture." Worth remembering the next time that image gets used online, as if it settles something. And then there's the detail that might matter more than the photo itself. Nolan, by every account here, didn't post anything to social media that day. No Snapchats, nothing uploaded. Christine Wells has said publicly that this struck her as strange. The explanation offered here isn't complicated. Bad service kills uploads before they send, and most people, hours into a day on the water with friends, simply aren't narrating it for an audience. That's plausible. It's also notably the second time in this account that the technology just didn't cooperate, has been the explanation for something that looks suspicious from the outside. One coincidence is a coincidence. A pattern of them is worth tracking as you keep watching. Here's where this account leaves off. Not at an ending, but in the middle of the night that actually decides how the rest of this case gets told. The boat's back. Everyone's accounted for except Nolan. And somewhere between here and morning, this stops being a story about a fun day on the water and becomes the story you've actually been trying to get to the bottom of. That's next. The phone call to Christine, the confrontation at the house, and the question that still doesn't have a clean answer. How did this go from a missing friend to a full-blown investigation this fast? Right now, the boat is back at the dock. Everyone's accounted for except Nolan, and the easy part of this story is already over. Everything that actually turned this into a national case, the phone call to Christine, the confrontation at Jax's house, the search, the questions about race, happens in the hours right after where we're leaving off. If you want the rest of this account in their own words, subscribe now so part 2 doesn't just show up in your feed by accident. This is the part that actually explains how a missing persons night turned into everything that followed.